Well, I mean,
No,
it
I'm
is.
serious because basically you know immediately whether somebody can sing or not, right? Within
Yes.
two
Right.
seconds.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is no different. You can tell if somebody's on a demo, you know within 2 seconds, all right, maybe four, if they know what they're talking about or not.
Number one, I would say, as far as demos are concerned, you have to have a good machine. I don't know if you've noticed the computer I've been using up to now was no longer cutting the mustard, right? Uh, what you end up getting very good at is talking while things are spinning, right?
Jeez.
Well, that's what I've been doing for the last couple of months. My computer just no longer. At some point, Lightning acquired some more memory requirements in the last couple of releases. And as you know, I do a lot of online training, and I mean, it was brutal. Like around Dreamforce, this last time when they actually had it, I had a class almost crash and completely burn because it was just so slow. Um, which I would say brings us to what they call an octane score. Welcome back, everybody. I'm giving folks a minute or two here to come filing in. I know most of the folks in here, so looking pretty good so far. We'll see who else shows up. Like I said, we had 12, and then I know a couple of people got certified, so they'll probably kick me to the wind, which is fine. Taught a class last week. A bunch of folks from a consulting firm that are making the most of the quarantine situation, and that was a really good experience. It was good to be back working again, 40 hours. My wife didn't necessarily like it all that much because, as you know, we have a 3-year-old. So she had to watch him all day and work. But like I said, it's nice to have some semblance of normalcy. I got a couple of clients that I'm working with right now, and things are kind of feeling like they might be coming back around. Hopefully it's feeling the same way for you guys. If not, why don't we go ahead and get started and start working on upskilling ourselves here. So I was mentioning earlier as far as performance in Lightning, I think it's getting more and more important as time goes on for us to understand that it used to be with Salesforce, you didn't really have to have a high-powered machine to operate with it, which was really nice. But as I said, the last release or two, this component-based development that we're doing now with Lightning and Lightning components and record pages, this layer that we're layering on and making very complicated is now starting to eat up some of our technical specifications. So what I would say for you to do, if you can, now I know all of us don't have a bunch of money right now to spend on computers and whatnot, but if you're working as a consultant, and you don't let your clients know that this is how you optimize your machines, you're going to find out really quick that they don't have the equipment necessary to have a stable experience, right? And they have this octane score here. So what I would do just for yourselves is learn how to improve performance and speed now. Even if it's just the one that you have, even if it's a computer with 4 gigs of RAM that doesn't really meet the requirements, I'm going to go ahead and put this in chat for us. But get good at calibrating Salesforce, because do you think users like it when they can't use Salesforce because it's slow? I mean, if they hate it, they just hate it more, right? That's where it all ends up. Let's see, I'm trying to find chat here. I got too many windows open.
I think speed augments their personal feelings towards it, meaning that
Absolutely. The
if
user experience is everything. So if it's slow, do you think they blame it on their computer?
No.
that certainly doesn't help. But on the other hand, but if they love it, then they're going to like it even more when it runs really, really well.
Well, yeah, well, let's put it this way. If it's not running really well, they're not going to like it.
True.
It's just a fact. And they're never going to blame it on their machine. So I just put in chat there this octane score that we can use to optimize the machines that we put into play that these users have to use on a daily basis. It will save you a ton of heartache, because that is a really good way to get people that don't want to use the platform to not use the platform. Oh, it doesn't even run when I want it to. Right? So where were we? Anybody remember? We do the homework? Probably not, right? I never did my homework. Let's see here.
So, Ryan, hi.
Hi.
Hi, this is Sona. I have a quick question. I was doing my homework on the validation, the formula
Okay.
validation assignment. I found it a little bit um, difficult, challenging. I mean, I was able to follow through it from the trail.
Okay.
I was thinking if I was to do it on my own, I probably wouldn't be able to figure out. And because, first thing is I don't work as a Salesforce admin at all. I work as a business analyst. How do
Okay.
I get better at this? Because I wasn't able to. I mean, I'm thinking like, this was very challenging for me. If I was to do it on my own and try to figure out how do I put the formula together, I don't think I would be able to do that. And what are your recommendations? How do I get a better hang of that?
Well, the first thing I would say is that Marcus Aurelius said that the obstacle is the way, right? So he was a European emperor, philosopher, king, right? And he said that when you feel that feeling of, I don't know what I'm doing, that's a really good sign. That's what you should be doing, right? So the fact that you feel that you don't think you could do this in reality, well, it's probably true. You couldn't. Well, how do you get better at anything? Do you play an instrument? Do you are you good at mathematics? You're a business analyst. Can you
Yeah,
code?
math.
So how did you get good at coding?
No, I don't do coding. I just,
You're good at math.
yeah,
So how'd you get good at math?
just practice.
Practice and study, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that you're feeling that is normal and good. There's only one way to get better at it, and that's to do it. Now, the question is, how do you end up getting to the point where you can do this and get paid for it, or just someone allowing you to operate in a production org, which is really, I think, the question you're asking. You just didn't know it.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get into the ecosystem as an actual productive resource? And there's a million ways to do that. It depends on your education and experience beforehand. But I was a salesperson. I was a glorified inside salesperson that knew very little about technology, very little about anything really. But I find that if you have a work ethic and a sense of urgency and a true willingness to help others, it doesn't matter what you're trying to do. That shows through beyond any technical understanding. That I can work with somebody that did their homework. Are you with me? I can work with somebody that did their homework, found it a little challenging, and was willing to say that to me. What I can't work with is somebody that says, oh, well, I tried it, so I give up, which is what most people do. So what I would say to you is continue what you're doing. You're obviously in Trailhead working. You're coming to my class a couple days a week. You're doing the memorization stuff. You're putting up with me, right? So you're doing it all right. The problem that you're running into right now is the time problem. And I'm assuming that time is probably of the essence for you. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So there are people on this call right now that might be able to help you, point you in the right direction. Is there a user group near you where you live? Do you know if there's a Salesforce user group that you might be able to attend virtually other than this one that's more local? If so, and you might be able to find that through the Salesforce community. If so, find those folks and connect with those folks locally. Another thing you can do is find a local charity that you believe in that maybe doesn't have a whole lot of resources, because Salesforce will give you up to 10 free enterprise licenses for nonprofits. So you can go and say, hey, look, I'm willing to donate some time to get some project experience. I can even get you the platform for free. And then you could operate as a Salesforce admin kind of pro bono, or maybe for a small salary, and work with a local nonprofit, or maybe a local business that you believe in, that you've been going to. Maybe someone in your family has a business. But what you have to do is build things. You have to build business processes into Salesforce, and you're not going to be any good until you do it. I can help you with the certification side, but there's nothing that keeps up with project experience. I mean, that is everything. And if you ask Chris Hopper, he's in the room. He's a respected Salesforce recruiter. You know, what is it? And Chris, are you there? Can you hear me?
I'm here. Yep.
What is it that you're looking for in a potential client? Who is your
Sure.
client right now?
Right. So the customers that I work with, first and foremost, are examples of work and showcasing skills outside of what's scripted, right? So Trailhead is a very scripted way of learning things, and I respect it. I think it's a baseline foundation, but for any individual looking to break into the ecosystem, it's the creativity that you can provide outside of what's being told to you, right? And so we've always talked about creating your own apps, right? Whether that is coming up with a fake business, for example, or looking at a business case out there that's online and creating an application around how to solve problems that were part of that business case. Or I've had individuals that were just tracking, something simple as the grocery list, right? And being able to create a series of tasks and appointments and reminders when it comes to grocery shopping. There's a lot of different things you can do to be creative and using Salesforce's application to be able to do. And you can just make up stuff for opportunities and accounts, and then just make up a fictitious business that you want to run. It could be mowing the grass, for example, or a cleaning service. So whatever is of interest to you, and create some automation, create some custom objects, all the things that Ryan's going over on this. But then you have to be able to showcase those skills during a conversation with a potential employer, so they see that you have some creativity outside of the scripted Trailhead modules.
Does anybody else have anything to add?
Yes, I do. There's definitely some online resources for virtual meetings. For example, a few weeks ago, I attended not one, but two different Salesforce Saturdays in two different cities, all from, my home. And so it was excellent because in both cases, each of the Salesforce Saturdays, they had a section of the event where, does anybody have any problems or issues you would like help with? And so for 10 to 15 minutes or however long it took, you had in one case a half dozen or more different people of really smart intelligence being able to solve your problem very quickly to keep you moving forward. And then also in the same Salesforce Saturday, there is a networking opportunity. So not only can you get to see who's there, who you connect with, and who you might want to connect with afterwards, but also who might be hiring, who's looking for a job. Those also is an excellent way of networking. I think now it almost seems like the virtual way is way more effective than the in-person way, just for that reason. You get to know people all over the country, if not all over the world, depending on which user group you're in, and you can really spread your wings very quickly.
I will second that. So LinkedIn, if you don't have a solid LinkedIn profile, like my company, I started my company in 2014. Within a month, I had my first client, and I've been working nonstop ever since. And that was all from LinkedIn. I've never done one single iota of business development work since I started my company. Zero. All of my business development is through LinkedIn. And I do that by creating a profile that looks desirable for the marketplace. And that's something that we can work on as a group as well as we move forward. If you don't have a good, how did you guys find me? Right? You found me on LinkedIn because that's the only place I operate. When you're a company like mine, you're small, you don't have a whole lot of resources to do that kind of business development. It's something I can manage and maintain in real time. I cultivate recommendations. People just don't give me recommendations. I cultivate recommendations. I get people that I worked with to talk about me. And if you go look at my recommendations, they're not short, templated responses. I cultivate recommendations from people that were passionate about the service that I gave, that they received. Those are the people that I want writing me recommendations. I could have a lot more if I wanted a recommendation from every person I've ever taught. But what I really want is I want the people that were inspired to write more than just a couple of sentences.
So as we write this down, number one, the market is us. So the first message we're sending out is CWC, I like the initials, Tony, Holland, Hamill. That's the first thing.
Somebody is,
You know, the one thing I wanted to mention, I think, Ryan, you and I probably discussed this some previously on this course was, you know, if you think about, I go back to when I was in college and when I was applying for positions at a school, and, you know, this is 20 years ago, but I graduated with a computer information systems degree. And one thing that I brought with when I was going for interviews in person or even on the phone, mostly in person, was bringing some of the coursework that I did, some of the programs that I wrote, and showing employers, taking them through it. You know, some employers didn't even care to see it, but the point is, you having
what does that tell you about them?
It tells you about the candidate themselves, that they're prepared and they have.
No. I mean, what's it tell you when the potential employer doesn't want to see it?
Well, I guess you can look at two different ways. For me, it was, you know,
either it is one way. You have an hour scheduled for me, and you're not even going to look at what I've done before. You know what? I don't want your job. That's the way I look at it. Right? I've had bad employers before, and I know what they smell like. You know what I mean? It's like I can almost, in that first 20 minutes, it's like, man, this is not going to be good. But that's because I'm 40-some years old now, and I've had some time to figure it out, right? But don't just, especially if you're desperate, because I've done that before too. The worst thing you can do is just take anything that comes. You're much better off to wait and bide your time and do what's right for you and your family. Sometimes we don't have a choice. I get that. Hopefully all of this has been helpful and useful, and I will continue to help you. If you feel like you don't have a strong LinkedIn profile, I am probably qualified to help you with that. I know Chris has a great profile. We can definitely talk about that in the future. But I would say the original question was, I'm feeling a little overwhelmed, and I would say that's normal at the beginning of a journey, right? So hang in there. We'll all help you. So does anybody remember where we stopped? If I wasn't sure, where would I look?
Most recently used, it looks like.
Well, I mean, I'd probably go to schema. So what did we want to have done by today, I thought?
I think we're creating custom record types.
Okay, so what's a record type?
A way to identify one record from another.
I don't know. It's been a while, huh?
Oh, yeah.
A couple of weeks off, and we're like, what happened? All right, so think about the process of creating one. What do we do first?
It's on the object level, isn't it?
Well, step one, we create the what?
First, define what the business process is, what problem you're trying to solve.
Well, we already have that, right? Right now, we are working on what right now? Which business process are we currently working on? If you just look at
Sales.
we're looking at the sales process, the one for that our pre-existing one for GenWatt, right? We sell industrial generators. And we said we had accounts, contacts, ops, tasks, events, products, and price books. And we were burning dinosaurs here, selling our large-scale industrial generators to hospitals and universities, right? What does it mean that I have created if I get an object all the way to record type?
The process.
So what's step one of record type creation? Did we not get this far? I feel like we did because we're creating record types here. Right? Or no?
I'm looking at my notes here. I don't know. I mean, I know we created record types. I don't know if we went through the steps.
Yeah, the first thing is page layout, right? What's a page layout? it's a user interface, right? And then here's what I think of. When I think of page layout, I clear my mind and I immediately think, all right, if I go to set up the object manager in a page layout for an object, let's say the account object. In my mind, when you say page layout, here's what my mind is doing. I immediately think, all right, page layout editor, right? When you say page layout, I am thinking page layout editor. Box 1 influences box 2, right? Or no?
Mm-hmm.
Did we do this? You got to remember, I've taught 2 classes in 2 weeks.
Yeah, we've been working with this drag and dropping.
Yeah, and box 1 influences box 2. So when I think about page layout from a testing perspective, my mind immediately goes to the layout editor. And we said, all right, these first actions in the classic publisher, we pulled all those, didn't we? Because we're not using classic. And they're talking about chatter here, which we're also not using. And then see how it's kind of like the profile where I start at the top and we just go right down the list, right? So then the next one is our mobile and lightning actions. What are those?
That's also kind of like a page layout, but on a mobile, on a phone.
Well, these are going to be the bubbles at the bottom of your mobile device. So edit, new task, log a call. They're little like circle icons that show up when you try to do something in mobile for that object. It's also lightning experience actions show up in the top right-hand corner. So if I go to, say, an account record, these are your mobile and lightning actions up here. See those? So in mobile, they're down here on the mobile device. Edit, new task, new event, right? And then you got your phone up here. Whereas in Lightning Experience, those mobile and Lightning Experience actions are up here on the desktop version. But in mobile, they're down here. So then I would, I'm thinking page layout, right? So box 1 influences box 2. We can drag and drop fields into the details section. Can I make a field required on a page layout?
Yes.
How do I do that?
There's
Come down here, look at the little wrench, right? You can make it required or read only. But this is a soft require, right? This means that I don't have to have it every time I import or export data. I can kind of do it softly, and it's not a system required field like this one with the little red star there. So we had our publisher actions that I pulled. Then we had our mobile and lightning experience actions that end up being on the bottom of mobile, the little bubbles that you can make changes with in mobile, or in the top right-hand corner, those are your lightning experience actions. They're the same thing. Then down here, we have our fields. Box 1 is set to fields. You can see all these different fields here. I'd probably grab this account record type and put it here so I can tell the difference. Remember, we created 2 account record types. Does anybody remember what they were?
We did renewable energy and fossil fuels.
Did we do customer and competitor in this class or no?
Yeah, we did
Accounts?
that. Yeah.
And then for ops, we did renewable energy and fossil fuels,
Right.
depending on which side we were on. So remember we created our first step was page layout, right? And for the account object, we created 2 of those. What was step 2 for record types? It's my shorthand for record type here.
It was sales process.
Well, it's our business process, right? What's a business process? Been a long week, huh? The business process on the opportunity object is what?
Stage.
The stage pick list. What do we call it specifically?
The path.
The path. We also call it the sales process, right? It's always a stage or status pick list. Is there a stage or status pick list on the account, excuse me?
No.
There
No.
isn't, so I can skip step 2, right? What was step 3?
Record type
We created our record types. How many did we need?
2,
What did we call them?
Gen 1, and
Oh, it was customer and competitor.
Customer and competitor, right?
Oh.
So then if we go to record types on the account object, you can see those two. Is this starting to ring bells or no?
Yeah.
So now if I go to the contact object, how would I create a record type? Step 1,
Page layout.
how many would I need?
2, I think.
Two?
1 for contact, 1 competitor.
Well, we said, if you remember, that a contact page layout's probably the same regardless of the type of account.
Right.
Because if you look at the fields, there's really no need for a second one. Do you see that? So I think we just need one record type. Do you guys remember why I get every object a record type if I can?
For future use, I think.
Well, scalability is a big piece, right? If you ever want to add another one, what do you have to create? The first one. So scalability is part of it. Another reason is data. Record type becomes something you can create as criteria, right? For data or list views or reporting or dashboards or whatever. So the third reason I like to get everything to record type is if you go look in schema, you can see in schema that that object is to a minimum standard of quality. It's like, okay, I got that object to record type. If I get it to record type, what's that mean I've already done? What's step 1?
Page layout in the process.
Yeah.
Side.
All right. And then also the record type's been created and they've probably been assigned to the proper profile. So it's a minimum standard of quality for me on each object in schema as I'm building. Also, when we get to record pages, you can isolate each record page down to app, profile, and record type. So I can get another level of granularity with my record page creation. You may not understand what I mean now, but you will. So we only need one record type here. Is there a business process on the contact?
no.
No, so I can skip it. What's step 3?
Profile. Oh, record type was step 3.
Yep. And how many did we need? 1. All right. Step 4 is profile because we assign record types to profiles. If I went to a profile, where would I manage record types? Think about the matrix.
You don't want to add it and scroll down.
Do not hit edit. That's correct. Do not hit edit. Scroll down. You can find your record type settings down here. And you can manage them there. What's the default record type?
The record type when you import or export data, when you import data, record data.
Sorry, I lost you a little bit there. You say it again?
I said that when you import a data, then the data, the default type, then the records, where the records will go, that's the default record type.
Think about lead conversion because that's what you'll get on the exam. If you convert a lead, which record type will Salesforce default to? So if you look, we have 2 account record types here. So if you were to convert a lead using the action convert, it's going to automatically convert to this one. as far as the account record. And then the same thing here as well. See how we have two?
Yeah. And I think we can change the default record type, right?
You definitely can. You would just select edit and you can change the default here. See?
Yes. One thing I also noticed that when I import the data and while insertion, it will insert the data into that default record type.
No, that makes complete sense. And it's
Yeah.
true. But for the exam, the question they're going to ask you, it has to do with lead conversion.
Right.
Now, if you were taking the Dev 1 exam, the developer exam, it would probably be what you just talked about. You know what I mean? It would probably be when you do an import, it's and create a new record or something, it's going to default to that one as well. I wonder if the process builder also, usually with the process builder, I assign them through the process. So I wonder if you just do like something in process builder, if it automatically defaults as well. I don't really know the answer to that, but I know the question on the exam has to do with lead conversion. If you're doing Dev 1, it's probably what he said. If you try to do something through the API, it's going to default to whatever the default record type that's chosen. Now, there's a school of thought. Back in the old days, you didn't create record types for objects that didn't need them. That was always the school of thought. What I have learned, though, from my Lightning implementations is that there is zero, there's nothing detrimental about doing it, and you can get a lot more granular with the UI you provide your clients if you do get everything to record type. So I think homework last week was to get everything as far as our main standard objects here for our fossil fuel business process, everything to record type. So does anybody need any help getting there? Okay, so what do you think I would do next? I'll tell you what, I'm going to take a 5-minute break here. I'll let you guys kind of discuss what you think would be the proper thing to do here. And please do it for the recording's sake. It'll be good. Just give me 5 minutes. I'll be right back. Thanks. And we'll see what you come up with. I don't hear anybody. I'm not surprised. So, which business process are we working on here?
Sales.
This is our sales process for which line of products and services?
Both.
Well, what were they both? We had fossil fuels, right?
And the other was renewable energy.
Renewable energy. And didn't we create some record types on the object for those two sides?
Yeah.
So what were the key points of our two different processes here?
The stage were different, right? Stages are
We had
different.
different stages. What is the stage pick list on the opportunity object?
What is it? What do you mean?
Business process.
That's our business process known specifically as the...
Sales process.
So you were correct. So did we discuss our stages on our new business process or no?
Yeah, we created those, I think,
So where would I find those?
in the stage pick list on
Stage pick list on the object manager for the opportunity object, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if we go to fields and relationships, I come down here to my stage pick list on the op object. That's my business process. And hey, look, we did create those, didn't we? So what did it mean if we set the stage to open for our renewable energy side? So remember, we sell large-scale industrial generators, right? For hospitals and prisons and universities. And we've been burning natural gas and propane and diesel and whatever else we can find up to now. But then we decided that we wanted to add a renewable energy side to our business. Does this sound familiar?
Mm-hmm.
So then we had to come up with what first? What's the first thing we always have to get?
the different
What's the first
stages identified.
Well, we got to have our business
business process?
right? And then here's our project. So the first thing we do is create a business process, right? So then what did that consist of? Well, wasn't that our stage pick list? But we already had a process in place where we were selling a different type of product and service. How many page layouts could I have per profile, per object?
It's just one.
One. So in order to have two completely different sets of products and services or two completely different business processes, what did we need to create?
Record types.
We had to create the record types first. So we did, but these pick list values here are two completely different business processes, right? This one is our renewable energy process. So then for this stage, what did open mean? Like we have to know, if you want to build this thing, we have to know what it's for. And if you don't, I need to cover it. You with me? So open meant it's new and nobody looked at it yet. Right? The opportunity got created with that record type and it was open, meaning that nobody has even looked at it yet. What did assessment mean?
That's the qualification of the needs.
Yeah, we're going to go out into the facility and we're going to count light bulbs and we're going to count wall plugs and we're going to see every bit of material and machinery that they're using, and we're going to get an understanding of what they already have in place as far as their output. But the outcome, what is the desired outcome here? If we get an assessment, what can we show?
What they have and what they need.
Show.
What they have, and then we can give them a proposal that is our products and services, right?
Mm-hmm.
That will then, what is the sales pitch? What are we selling them?
Our expertise on how to make their processes more efficient.
Yes, but how do we want to show that efficiency? What unit?
Dollars.
In dollars, right? we have to show energy savings. Yes? So we take the initial numbers. From those numbers, we decide what our solution is going to be, which is the proposal. Then we have to manage the upgrade. So if they say no, what do we do? If we give them the proposal and they say, wow, we're going to lose 20 grand to do this, what are they going to say?
They're going to say no.
And what are we going to put that in at that point?
Close
Probably
lost.
close lost unless you're going to come back at them with something.
Well, you're definitely going to come back at them with something because you're going to come back at them with fossil fuels. Right? Be like, hey, I get it. It takes X amount of years to pay this off in savings. Well, maybe it's better to use our high efficiency, you know, natural gas boiler or whatever this thing is over here.
Okay.
So then where's our sales pitch in the process?
It's going to be in the upgrade.
Well, the sales pitch is the proposal.
Right.
I mean, that's where, if I don't show energy savings, are they going to buy?
No.
No.
I mean, isn't that, where's my salesman, Doug? Where's the sales pitch?
I'm here.
Where's the sales pitch at here, buddy?
Well, you're in a bad place if they're going to lose money on it. So it's done.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm probably not going to pitch this unless I know I can save them money. Because isn't it a waste
Right.
of time up to here if you already know they're not going to save any money?
Oh yeah.
Sort of. So, I mean, we have to understand this process soup to nuts. You can't just, all right, I got the pick list, I'm ready to go. Like, you really have to understand what each value in the pick list means as far as the company's process flow. So they come in, they get the assessment because somebody came to them and said, hey, you look like you'd be a really good candidate for this. We're not just going to go out and blanket the streets and flyers with this program. There's going to be a very specific type of customer that's going to show these proposed energy savings. It's not going to be the newest plant they built, right? It's not going to be the newest university.
Right.
It's got to be an old building. You know, there's some things that we need to understand about our products and services that a standard Salesforce administrator right out of Trailhead University is not going to understand, right? But as a consultant, yeah, go ahead. Question? As a consultant, you have to be able to become expert enough. You don't have to be the engineer that created the solution, but you do have to sit down with that engineer and try to get a handle on what do you say it is that you do here, right? You have to ask those questions. So comes in, it's open, it hasn't been looked at yet. We schedule the assessment, right? We schedule the assessment. Then from that assessment, we create a proposal and then they say yes or no. If they say yes, we do the upgrade. If not, it's closed lost. So what do we do after the upgrade is completed?
Then you do an evaluation to see if basically what was promised actually, you know, happened.
Yeah, which is going to be the difference between this process and this process. The value added here is we're going to come back and make sure that what we said actually happened, which they wouldn't do here. They'd say, what do you need? We'll give them 25% more than maximum capacity and we'll plug it in, right? That's the value added here. So then what happens after QA? Well, as long as everything's cool, we get paid and it's closed won. Does anybody have any questions about the actual process here?
Mm-mm.
And this is a very real world example of what this would look like.
So if you, let's say you get through to the quality assurance phase and everything's going according to plan, maybe even better. At one point where you decide, okay, this is great, but let's say a year or two goes by and you've now got even more efficient models and then you just revisit these whole steps again?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of variables here that we would have to truly understand to answer your question, but I'll say this. anything that has to do with renewable energy takes a really long time to pay itself off in savings. So they usually do it based on what they call the lifespan of the material. So they'll say you stand if properly maintained. So then you have maintenance costs over time, right? But they'll say if properly maintained, you might get 25 years of usage out of these panels you're about to buy. And we would say in the industry that a good savings to investment ratio would be 1, meaning it pays itself off once over the lifespan of the material. But a lot of times it gets offset by better pricing per kilowatt hour, or there might be state incentives or federal incentives. So there's a million reasons why it could be a good or bad idea to do this. Another way that I would quote unquote juice the numbers here is if we're talking about 25 years, you would be an idiot to not put an inflationary increase over time as far as an exponential growth curve on that money, right? Because we know that at the very least you're talking up until recently of what, around 4% inflation. Another thing that you might add to juice those numbers and show savings over time, and I'm saying juice them because it's increasing them, not because it's unethical, but to say that the rising cost of utilities over time, which recently everything's turned upside down, but traditionally you could add those exponential growth rates to those numbers and show way more savings over time. And it wouldn't be lying, would it?
No, it would not.
I mean, over 25 years, in our money, it might pay itself off once, but over 25 years with inflation and the rising cost of the utilities, now we might have a lot more money at the end of that rainbow if we do this properly. And it's not easy. And the vast majority of people are not going to buy because it takes it so long to pay off. It just takes it. You're not going to pay things off quickly with renewable, but there are situations where it really does make sense. And who knows, we might sell more fossil fuels because we offer it, right? We might have to send more people to the other side, but hey, it might be a more energy efficient solution than they would have purchased just getting the middle of the road option, right? They might be more inclined to do something that's a little bit more energy efficient. You might sell more of those high efficiency systems than you would if you didn't try. I mean, it's all, we talked about why it made sense for them to do this because marketing alone is probably worth it. The BP calling itself, energy company, but also a renewable energy company, that really does help. Company image and future thinking, the whole 9 yards. Who knows where it's going to end up, but it does make sense to try. In our situation, being the Gen Watt manufacturers, industrial power generation, they may as well do it all. If they have the expertise, the engineering, and the ability to create these solutions, then do it, right? So what we did is we created these values with a purpose. It wasn't these values we just kind of pulled out of our tails. We said, what are these for? What are these values in this pick list? And we assign these percentages so we can show forecasting later on, like what we might see coming down the pipeline, depending on what's chosen as far as values. Any questions there? So we added those to the pick list. If you remember, we also reordered them to the top of the page, making sure that closed won, closed lost was at the bottom. And then now we need to start thinking about, because really what we've managed here so far is just our current business process.
Question.
Yeah.
Will the order of them automatically follow what the percentage assigned is, or could there be a screwy way where it doesn't go in an ascending order percentage-wise?
You know what? Leave it to a salesman to ask that question.
Sorry.
No, it's a good question. So you can make it to where it is a set value, right? So if you want it to be a set value, no matter what the stage change is, that value is set, which is what I would recommend doing, because you're going to get a better outcome analytically than if people are just kind of like, oh, 37%, right? But you can't set it to where the user can change that field.
Right.
Depending on how they feel. I would say that's
But
not
it-
best practice. Let the stage change determine the probability, and then through
Percentage.
field level security,
Right.
just make it read only. So this was, I've kind of mapped out our infrastructure currently for our fossil fuel side. So now we have our business process in place. What would you do next, class? What are we trying to do? We have how many processes?
2 processes.
2.
Which one have we currently mapped?
Fossil.
EMA, fossil fuel, right?
Do the same thing for renewable.
This is all kind of the same thing though, right? Isn't it the same? What's going to be different?
Record type and
stage-
opportunity.
Record type.
And we have those, don't we?
Yeah.
What were our 2 record types that we chose for ops?
Also and renewable.
FF.
Fossil fuel and
Fossil and
renewable
renewable,
energy, right? They're just going to be buttons. And the desired outcome is going to be when your user goes to an opportunity and he selects or she selects new, you get a choice, right?
Yep.
One has one page layout, one has the other. One has one stage pick list, one has the other. Did we do that? So if I go to fossil fuels and I choose the stage pick list, I have one business process here. That's our fossil fuel side, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Then if I were to do the same thing and choose renewable energy, there's our other page layout with,
The appropriate ones.
although prospecting, that's not correct, is it?
No.
So troubleshooting, how do you get rid of it?
Go back to the page layout.
Can you do it on the page layout?
I think it's
No,
going
I
to be on
guess
the pick
not.
list.
Pick list.
Where's the business process housed?
Stage opportunity
It's
stage.
the stage pick list.
Yeah.
Where do I manage the values in the stage pick list on a record type for the opportunity?
Opportunity object.
To the field, isn't it?
This is going to be really good. Check
Go to
this
your
out.
object manager.
Well, if we go to object manager for ops,
Stage.
Yeah.
I'm in the object manager. And if I go to fields and relationships where the fields, the stage field resides,
Yeah.
can I control the values in the record type for renewable energy from here?
I don't think so.
Where do we manage business process values in a record type?
Opportunity stage.
That's where we're at right here. Can I manage those values from here?
It's where you select them, right? You select them from some.
Well, I can create them here.
You add them to a list, right? On another.
I can reorder them here. What's step 2 in record type creation? Step 1 is what?
Page layout.
Step 2 is what?
Process.
It's our
Stage track.
business process, right? What is our business process on the opportunity object?
Stage
process.
track.
But isn't that step 2? What we call it the what process?
Sales process.
Okay.
Business process for sales, for opportunity.
Let's go to the sales process in the setup tree. So I'll go to setup. Step 2 is what? Business process. What do we call this? What do we call the business process on the opportunity object?
Sales process.
That's what is it physically on the op?
The pick lists for stage values.
The stage pick list. Do you see why I keep doing that over and over and over and over? Because if you don't see it, you'll never remember it. It's like you just got to keep doing it. So my problem here is my step 2 on my renewable energy record type, I have an extra value. So I'm going to click in here and I'm just going to pop it back over. See? So now if I go to an opportunity record and select new, and I choose renewable energy, I should only have the pick list values that I want for that process. Same thing for the other. If you went to the mobile device and you selected new on the opportunity object, you would have a button for each one. I did the same one twice. See? Does anybody need help here? All right. So we still need all this, don't we?
Yeah.
We still need it.
Yeah.
It's all still valid. So what do we need to track now? We're going to take the fossil fuel side and we're going to throw it in the trash. Completely. No, completely isolate it from your mind. We don't care about it anymore. I'm trying to map our renewable energy process now. Are we going to need companies that we want to track?
Yeah.
Are we going to need people at those companies?
Yeah.
Are we going to need to track follow-ups and to-dos?
Yeah.
Calendar events?
Yeah.
Are we going to need different products and services that we can assign to opportunities?
Yes, I think.
Do we have two completely separate business processes now?
Yes.
Okay. So now I can take my previous process that we built that's working, and I can say, all right, I'm not talking about that anymore. I'm only talking about renewable energy side. You see how I just kind of like scraped off all the stuff that I had to do with fossil fuels here?
Yep.
I'm just saying, wipe it all clean. We've mapped it. We've got it. Now we're talking about the renewable energy side. So in our business process, what's the first stage?
What was it?
New or open?
Open.
Meaning that it hasn't been looked at yet. Then what happens?
Right. Do an assessment.
We do our assessment. So how do we want to manage those? Where do we want them to show up?
On the opportunity pick list, stage pick list.
Well, that's the business process. How do we want to account for assessments?
Probably with tasks or activities, I would think.
Well, you could. What if there's more than one?
Okay.
Well, I mean, maybe when you create an opportunity and it automates something, right? So it automates creation of records or things for the sales rep to do.
So you're saying manage it on the op record as far as fields on the op record?
Well, it depends on how far back we're going. I mean, if I'm a sales rep creating a new opportunity, right, and I'm creating it as an open stage, the question I would have is, okay, based on the rep doing that, what do we want to have happen next?
Okay. And that's where your mind needs to be. But think about how Salesforce does it. Where does Salesforce put all of the information in the Sales Cloud? What do we search?
I don't know that I'm following the question.
Okay. So Jack Rogers from Burlington calls you up.
Mm-hmm.
And you're the sales user. What are you going to do?
Yeah. Log a call.
Well,
it's going to be an activity.
I'll search for him or the company.
You're going to search for Burlington, aren't you? Why?
I can see the history of what's going on there.
Well, you can also see the related records, right? If you think about it, the account is a folder that everything else goes in. So what we need for our process is kind of a magic object, kind of like the account object is, the one we always search for. And then we want to put the related items in the form of a related list here, see? Let me give you a hint.
Can you re-ask the question?
Well, I'm saying, where do you want everything that has to do with that opportunity to show up?
Well, it's underneath the account.
Which it will. Why?
So it's because they're associated.
There's
lookup.
there's a lookup relationship between accounts and ops here. It's a one-to-many relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I want to see all of the opportunities associated with an account, what am I going to search for?
The account.
The account, and look at the related list area, right? To see the number of ops and contacts and cases. Okay. So what I'm saying is, for these different record types, really what we need is to look at the opportunity and see the related records on the op. So an assessment, if I go to the elements tab here, see that? I was in objects. Now I'm in elements.
Okay.
I'm going to grab an object, drag it onto the canvas, and I'm going to call it assessment. And I'll check everything here except this one. It's just giving you functionality you wouldn't normally have. In deployment means that only admins can see it. Deployed means everybody can see it. I'll just do it in deployed here. But now I have an object called assessment. What's an object? An object. An object is a table, right? Where the columns, fields, and the rows are records.
Yep.
Did we talk about relationships yet?
Some using the lines when you're drawing.
We did the
relationships.
drawings.
Yeah.
We did the drawings. Okay. So where do you want the assessments associated with an opportunity to show up in platform? Don't you want it to be a related list on the opportunity?
Yeah.
So which relationship type would you use to create this relationship to put the assessment as a related list on the op?
So which field and opportunity you're asking?
Well, what I'm saying is this. Check this out. If I grab my lookup relationship data type. Here, let me ask you this. Did we do this drawing yet? One to many. Where's the field go on the child? Did we do this already or no?
I don't think we talked about where the field goes.
That's the problem. Like I said, I did 2 weeks of training in a row, so sorry. Let's do our drawing here. All right, so remember where we're at here, okay? Remember where we're at. I'm going to clear everything. Now look. People have huge issues understanding the difference between relationships. And it's because that companies and teachers try to teach this with a case study. You can't teach it with a case study. It has to be done like a formula. It's like a math problem. You need to see the physics of every lookup relationship. It doesn't matter whether it's called nuclear weapons or umbrellas. The name of the table doesn't matter. The business process doesn't even matter at this point. It is the physics of the data type. It is the physics of the relationship data type that you need to know. It doesn't matter why. And once you see that, it'll make a lot more sense. So we've been talking about the lookup relationship data type all class. So if I select all, I kind of back up here a little bit, you can see every object and relationship in Salesforce. I'm sure I've showed this before, right? Looks like something that landed at Roswell. Looks like alien tech, right? This is everything that comes out of the box, all of the tables, all of the relationships, and how they all work together. You'll notice the main one that we use is the lookup relationship. This is because it's the safest. And we'll see why it's safe, quote unquote, safe here in a moment. But here are the key points of this main relationship data type that we use called the lookup relationship. So the first thing you need to realize is that it's just a data type. It's like any other field. It's just a field that has special attributes. Okay. The first thing that we need to know about the lookup relationship is as follows. Number one is that it's parent, child. And that means one to many. The next question is, where does the field go? The field always goes on the child. Always. It's a loose relationship. This means that each individual record has an owner. So then security is controlled by the owner of each record, just like normal. So if I delete the parent, that means because of that ownership, each one has an owner. That means that the child record is what we called orphaned. I know it's very sad. I can pull information from the parent to the child using what's known as a cross object formula. I cannot, however, aggregate from the child back to the parent. That's a no-no. So these are the key points of the lookup relationship. I'll do it again, see if you guys can remember. Key points of a lookup relationship are as follows. It means it's what?
Parent, child.
Parent, child, which means what?
One to many.
Where's the field go?
Child.
On the child.
On the child. It's a loose relationship, meaning what?
The
Parent can be
they
deleted.
operate independently. What do you say?
Each one has its own owner.
Right.
So that means if you think about our security matrix, isn't that always the first question you ask? Right? So each one has its own owner. That means security is controlled by the owner of each record. What happens if I delete the parent?
Child is orphaned.
Child is orphaned. Can I pull information from the parent to the child?
Before you delete it?
No, you can pull information from the parent to the child using a cross object formula. You cannot, however, do this. You can't go from the child back to the parent. Even if you don't understand what I'm talking about right now, memorize this. Lookup means what?
Parent, child.
Which means what?
One to many.
Where's the field go?
On the
Child.
child.
On the child.
It's a loose relationship, meaning what?
Each
record has
owner.
Each one has an owner, so security is controlled by the owner of each record. What happens if I delete the parent?
Child becomes orphan.
Can I pull information from the parent to the child?
Yes.
With what?
Cross object
Cross
formula.
object.
Can I aggregate back from the child to its parent?
No.
No. Okay. Does everybody get it? No. Okay. Did you get the drawing though? Could you do the drawing yourself right now? Should I do it one more time?
Sure.
Okay.
You lost me when you went with all the what couldn't happen in another order. That was a no-no. That's where I kind of checked
Look
out.
up relationship, key points,
Parent-child,
which means what?
one-to-many,
Where's the field go?
child,
It's loose for meaning what?
meaning each has its own owner.
So what happens if I delete the parent?
Child remains.
Child will remain orphaned. Can I pull information from the parent to the child record?
Is that the no-no?
No, that one's the yes. Cross object formula. You can't do this. You can't go from the child back to the parent. Don't worry if you don't know what I mean. Do you have it memorized
I don't.
yet? You don't have it memorized
Ish.
yet? All right, so look up relationship, key points.
PC.
Parent, don't do that. Don't do that to yourself. Parent, child,
Okay.
which means what?
One-to-many
Where's the field go?
on a child.
It's loose, meaning what?
Each has its own owner.
Security is controlled by the owner of each record. What happens if I delete the parent?
The child remains. It's orphaned.
Child is orphaned. What happens if can I pull information from the parent to the child?
Yes.
With what?
With the cross
Cross-object
What is-
formula. I
cross-object
cannot
formula.
pull information from the child back to the parent. It will not allow me. Do you have the drawing memorized?
It looks like Homer Simpson, but yes.
Okay, so now we're going to do it. I'm going to go to the Elements tab in Schema here. Just went from objects to elements. I'm going to grab an object here. I'm going to call it parent object. Now, these are variables. It does not matter what the name of the objects actually are. These are just variables to show you the physics. It could be anything. We're talking about a lookup relationship, not a real situation here. So try and see it as a formula and not necessarily reality. I'm just calling the object the parent object. Then I'm going to grab another object. I'm going to call it the child object. All right. We said a lookup relationship is parent-child, which means what?
It's one-to-many
Where's the field go?
on the child.
So grab the lookup relationship data type, drag it over onto the child, and let it go, and call it parent record name. It's just a record on the parent object it's looking up to, and we're going to relate it back to the parent. I'll give you guys a minute to catch up. So when you get done, it should look like this. Give me a shout when you get there. If you need help, let me know. Don't just give up now. Tell me. I'd be happy to walk you through it. Now, you could have created the objects through the setup tree through the object manager. You could totally have done that. But nobody in their right mind develops in the object manager. We develop in Schema. Why? Because I can see where the related lists are going to be. I mean, that's really where that's brass tacks on all this. That's an Americanized cliche. I have no idea why. I sometimes forget I have folks from India. I never forget, but I know that's why I say an Americanized. We say things like skinning cats and brass tacks. Don't mind us. But the important thing to understand here is the octopus tells us the many side of the one-to-many relationship here. It also tells us which one is going to be the related list. So the beauty of doing this in schema is that I can truly see what the user is going to see without having to leave schema. If I can read it functionally in schema, I can see the fields that are there. I can see the data types that are there. I can see the relationships that are there, and I can create objects and fields right from the palette over here. So I'll give folks another minute or two here, and why don't we take a short 10-minute break? We'll come back at 3:28 p.m. EST. All right, if anybody needs help in the meantime, feel free to ask. So Chris Hopper, you there? I was speaking for a moment. We're on break till 28 after. But you're more than welcome to speak, Bill, if you wish. I am recording, so I'll probably just remove this anyway. Did you get this created, Bill, or no?
I'm sorry. No, I can see that now. I saw the screen move, and I just wasn't sure if it was still on mute or what the deal was. I just didn't want to interrupt what you're talking about. That's all.
No, you're good, man. You can tell I kind of wing these.
Gotcha.
I think there's value to that, though. I think if everything has a color-coded agenda, you miss a lot. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, what I find is, one max 2 colors is fine, but any more than that, it loses its impact because then you forget what the color is for.
I think there's something to be said for a meeting without an agenda.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like, hey, I got some good people here. Maybe I have a problem we should discuss or something we should talk about. Like if you have a good network of people that you can get together in a space like this, it's amazing what you can come up with.
Well, that's like I was saying earlier about the particular Salesforce Saturday groups, where they do have an agenda, at least a loose one anyway, but then
Right.
they open it up to the floor as, okay, what are things that are areas of concern that we can help you with?
And I guarantee you that's the best part of the whole deal is the let's solve each other's problems portion. That's where you learn the most.
Oh, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then also what that tells you is who really knows their stuff. And so that if you need to reach out to them again, then you know that you're going basically with a knowledgeable source.
Sure. And I think there's a lot being lost currently by companies that are taking sessions like this and trying to distill them down into main points. It's like, sometimes it's good to just listen to people talk about the subject and the ums and the ahs and the, oh, wait, that didn't work. I mean, sometimes that's helpful. to, you know, the dog barking in the background and, hey, can everybody mute for me, please? Like, I think all of that lends to reality. It's like, wow, that I felt like I was there, as opposed to just somebody picked all the key points out, bullet pointed it for me, and put it to me in a 5-minute digestible video. You know, there's a lot to be said for just letting, you know, I've learned a lot from Joe Rogan, frankly. Just letting people talk. You know, like, let people hash things out together. It makes a lot of sense because it builds context for you.
Oh, definitely.
Or if I give you a bullet pointed grouping of color coded agendas and PowerPoint presentations, I mean, you might get something out of that, but I guarantee you're not getting much. Everybody back? Does anybody need any help getting to where I am right here? Because I'd be happy to pass the presenter. Does everybody see what we've done here? What's an object?
It's a table
Where the columns are what?
where the columns are fields and the rows are records.
What's a data type? All right. So data type are the types of fields that you can create custom. They are what they call standard data validation. So if you look over here in the Elements tab, you can see there's all these different data types here. And what we're doing is we're protecting the columns on the table. We're saying that a phone number should look like a phone number. A percent should be a percent. An address should be an address. Well, an address isn't on there. But a pick list should be a pick list. So we're protecting the columns within our table through what we call standard data validation. What can I change on a standard field? What do I mean by standard?
Out of the box?
Out of the box. So do you think there's a whole lot I can change about standard fields?
No. I do not.
There's a test question where they say, what can you change on a standard field? You want to know the answer? It's a free one. So if you go to the object manager and you go to any of the objects in the object manager, and we go to fields and relationships, what can I change on a standard field? Well, account name is what we call a system generated field. It must exist for a record to exist. So what can I change about it?
Nothing.
Not very much. Is there an edit button here?
No.
So there's very little I can change about this particular standard field. However, if I go to setup and I search tabs and labels here, see this? The first thing I will direct your attention to is that I can, if I want, change the name of the account object to something else. Do you think that's a good idea?
No.
No.
Absolutely not. I once worked for a company that changed the name of the opportunity object to jobs. And I think someone might be on the call that was there when we did this. I'm not going to name any names. But they changed the name of the opportunity object to jobs. Does anybody know why that might be problematic?
Oh, for many reasons, because other things. Go ahead, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Ladies first.
Reporting
Ladies first,
functionality.
please. Ladies
Yeah.
first, please. Go ahead.
You might create confusion.
Yeah, why would it create confusion to do that?
Because
Isn't there an object called jobs?
Well, there's no object called jobs, but what if I go to help and training and search jobs? What do you think happens? Does opportunities
Say
come
that
up?
again?
No, it may not populate.
Right.
No.
So what I would say from experience, because we did it together, it wasn't, I didn't know any better at the time either. This was what, 2012, 2013. So none of us knew anything. But when you change the name of a standard object, what you're doing is you're training your internal people that you are trying to use Salesforce as a transformational mechanism, right? So you're teaching them improperly from the first moment they dip their toe in the water. I mean, that's just terrible practice. Do not do that to your people. Teach them properly for these main standard objects. Use them as intended. Because, like I said, if you go and search jobs in the opportunity object, you're not going to find anything. If you bring in somebody that understands Salesforce and they see that you've done that, they're going to be like, whoa, what? I mean, they might even say it out loud. They'd be like, that was really not a good idea, because we should all be on that minimum standard of quality that day one of class. And we went through one-on-one. What's a 101? What's an account contact op, right? So embed those into the culture, even if they don't want to, like force them to take it. It's like you have to use this as an opportunity to change for the better, and you have to incorporate the nomenclature, because if not, they're going to keep calling it what they always called it, and then they say, "Well, that's not the way we used to do it," and then you're back to that. You're in the plunge again. It's like, you already told me you hated that, right? You already sat down with me and told me you hated the old way. So why do you want to go back to the old way? You're back in that again. So do not change the name of entire tables that come out of the box in Salesforce. Just don't do it.
Well,
However,
it flies in the face of the simplicity factor that you were suggesting from the get-go that you look for.
it does, unless you realize that that's the most simple way of explaining it. Do you think Jimmy Bob's construction company knows how to name a table better than Salesforce does?
Right. No.
So in
you're making it more
reality, it
complex.
is. They are making it more complex because they're trying to apply their own nomenclature when it's not necessary. Use what they give you, because they have really come up with a great process and how all this ties together. This platform can teach you how to be an effective business person if you just follow what standard objects and what the standard Salesforce philosophy is. You just learn it and do it. You will be a better business person than if you don't. It's just a fact, because they have built in these high quality philosophies into the software. It's like now nobody does calculus anymore. Who does the calculus? It's not the scientists. Who does it? It's the programmers that do it.
Yeah.
Isn't it? The only people doing math are programmers. Everybody else is banging in variables. So use what they give you. It will say, even if you don't have a great business background or a sales background, or you haven't been in operations before, like just adhering to their best practices and just embracing it and saying, this is what we're going to do because this is how they did it. Like maybe have a little blind faith in the platform, because they built all of this with business geniuses developing the processes here. You see what I mean?
Mhm.
They had really smart people design all this because they know what works as far as business processes. So learn them and then model your future ones off the ones they taught you. As simple as you possibly can. Simplicity meaning use what they give you, and then if you want to rename a field, like that rating field I don't like, if I wanted to make it prospect rating, I could. If I wanted to make it something completely different, I'm not altering the API name here. I'm not changing the code on the back end, but I'm just changing what they see as the name of the field. Now, there are certain fields I would never change the name of. Can anybody think of one? What about this one? Think it's a good idea to change the name stage on the op?
No, I do not.
No, either do I. Terrible idea. Don't do it. Stage your status fields, leave them stages and statuses. Teach people what business processes are. Teach your users how that is the milestones they're seeing on the path on the record page, right? If I look at an op record, teach people that the milestones at the top of the page are the pick list. So does anybody see a problem here? What's the problem?
Too many values.
Too many values where?
Under
Milestone business process.
So how many business processes are in this stage pick list?
there's way too many here.
There's 2. You see?
Yeah. If nothing else, they seem to be out of order because you wouldn't assess something before you prospected it.
Well, no, look, this is our business process for the renewable energy record type. See? And this is our business process for fossil fuels.
They all populated under one.
Yes. We have the same stage pick list. So what immediately should come to your mind here? This is such a great case study, by the way.
But they need to be separated.
Yeah.
Well, how do we separate pick list values in the stage pick list?
Do you go to the what is that other the process you went to this?
You would create a second path or multiple paths.
Record type,
Step 1.
page layout,
Step 2.
business process.
What's the business process?
Sales process stage.
Yes, so under the setup, you'll type stage process and then separate it through that.
What's step 3?
Record type.
What record type is this record?
This is fossil fuels.
Well, you can't tell, can you? Do you see how you can't tell? Why can't you tell?
Could you tell in the stage drop-down list, right?
Because there's no
Well-
record types. There's no.
I can tell that both record types are in the stage pick list.
Is that right?
Well, it is right. I'm trying to show you something very, very specific here. This is like the best case study I've ever seen to teach this. I just fell into it, right? So watch this. How many business processes are here?
Too many. Oh, wait. How many steps or how many processes?
Both processes are here, aren't they?
Yeah.
How many record types do we have
1.
on the op?
We have 2.
We
We should have 2.
Actually, what I'm about to show you is that we have 3. Watch this.
One of them's got everything.
That master one, I think.
Master has everything.
Dude.
So that record, what you're going to see is that record had the master record type. And it has both pick lists available. But the interesting thing is, if you go look at record types, how many does it show that we have?
2.
2. So what I'm going to try and show you here is that you have to add the record type field to your page layouts so you know which one you're looking at.
Oh.
And for those records that were created before we did this,
You will not see, yeah, the ones that were created before we did this are still the master. They're still the master. Do you see? So you have to add the record type field. I'm going to use quick save, go up and do the other one. You have to add the record type field to your page layouts if you have more than one. You see? Now watch. If I go back to the sales application and I look at an opportunity recently viewed, which record type is it? Do you see that it's blank?
yeah.
That means master. Watch what happens if I change this to the renewable energy record type. Business process should I see at that point? Right now, it's still showing the prospecting because it's in prospecting. But if I set it to open and save here, right now, if I change this to the renewable energy record type, which business process should I see?
One tied to renewable energy.
Renewable energy. If I make it the fossil fuels record type, what should I see?
Fossil fuels.
See? The concept of the master record type is important because the stuff that existed before you created record types for that object is still in the master. Do you see? This is what I would call effectiveness training here. You're not going to realize that until you make that realization that the blank record type is the master and it's got both. Otherwise, you're going to be completely confused. It's like, oh man, I know I changed all that, right? Or would you? I know I was.
So I guess just to clarify, that this is a good example of if you add fields and record types later after you've already established your org, it's not going to apply to anything you've previously done. You'd have to go back, like in this case, you'd have to assign the particular record type.
Yes. Do you think that's also problematic?
What was the question again?
Well, he's just saying that if you don't create record types immediately, and records get created and they become the master, and then later on you have to go in and update those to the proper record type after you create the record types. Doesn't it make more sense to just create it right then?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
one I guess use case, Ryan, is if you have an opportunity record without a record type that was created before you create a record type, and it has a stage defined, which is not part of the stage that's with the new record type. Does that stage get blanked out once you change that existing record to the new record type?
no, it doesn't. It will remain whatever it was selected as. So now you have a situation where you see the problem. Do you see why I get everything to record type? This is the best. I'm going to have to go back and watch this again to see exactly what I did, because this is the best case study I've ever seen for this. I just fell into that. But that's like the number one reason, because I don't have to go back and fix it. I just go ahead, I get everything to record type that I can, at least one. That way I know that I've dealt with the page layout, I've cleaned it all up. I know that I've dealt with the business process. I know I've created the record types, if one or more, and then I also know that I have at least one profile I've assigned them to. And I continue to work from schema. you know, I didn't show a whole lot new in this class, and this might have been just like a catch-up class, which is fine. Like I said, we have no time restraint, which is beautiful. But we got a couple of minutes here, so I'll continue. I mean, I think I pontificated quite a bit and whatever. But do you see how we created two objects and a relationship here? Right in schema?
Mhm.
And then there are limitations to schema. We'll do this and we'll stop for the day. So the first limitation of schema is tabs. What's a tab?
It's a visual representation of an object.
A visual representation of an object. And it shows up in the all tabs bar. And it also, you know, it shows up a lot of places. If you don't have the tab, you can't see anything. Well, with schema, if you create an object, we created two here. If you create an object in schema, it doesn't automatically bring up the tab wizard as if you did it in setup. Meaning that if you did it through the setup tree, you could create two objects from the object manager. And at the end, it gives you this little checkbox to launch a new custom tab wizard. So it does automatically, when you create the tab in the object manager, it gives you the ability to create the tab. I'll argue that it doesn't save you that much time. But one of the limitations of schema is that it doesn't create tabs for us. So before we end class here, I'm going to create two tabs, and I'll have you do this along with me if you can. Just search TAB, and you should see tabs. And then it's got some built-in smarts here. If you hit the new button in the center of the screen, it knows the tabs that you need. So I'll do parent. Grab my goofy little clip art here. Doesn't matter what you choose. It's just for classic. Nobody ever uses it. Next. Then I'll do hidden for everybody, but on for myself, which is admin. And then it says, which apps do you want it to be a part of? Well, I'll just put it on the Lightning Sales app here. And save. And then again for the other tab, it's the child tab. Which profile? Well, I'll do hidden for everybody but the admin because this is kind of a demo here. Default on, meaning it'll be on the bar. Which tab? Lightning Sales. All right, beautiful. So now if I look at my sales app, I should see, which I don't, parent and child. Any thoughts?
Refresh your screen first.
Ah, that's a good idea. I like it. Was that you, Bill?
Yes.
You have been paying attention, my friend. So how would you, first of all, do you think any admin should have this many tabs open?
No.
Not unless they absolutely positively needed it and then some.
Well, every admin I've ever met has this going on, right? Including myself on occasion. How would you fix it?
You would hide them.
Where?
You can go to the classic and then under
Oh,
tabs.
look at her getting old school on it. She's gonna switch to classic and customize her tabs just for herself, right? Totally valid. She could totally do that. if I want to control who sees what, where do I do that?
Under the profile?
You could. I'm going to do it on the app. I'm going to go to the app. Then you totally could do it on the profile, right? You go to the tab settings, default on, default off, tab hidden. But what I'm going to do here is the problem right now is that our app has too many tabs in it. It's an out of the box app and it has way too many tabs in it. So what I'll do is I'll go to the app manager here under app in setup. And then for my lightning sales app here, number 11, I'll edit and I'm going to pull all the junk that we aren't using. I'm going to skip a couple here and go to nav items. And then I can just be like, nope, nope, nope. And I like to have kind of like that going on. I mean, make it how you want to make it. But this is for the entire app, by the way. Anyone assign this app, they'll be in this order. I'm under nav items here in the app builder. So sometimes things don't happen immediately in Lightning. Hopefully it did here. And it might take it a moment. But here in a moment or two, we will have what I just did as far as the app. Another way we could manage it is as she said, on the profile itself with the object settings. How would you know if it worked? Well, what I would do is I would go to Classic and see, because things aren't happening in real time. Oh, no, I can't do it there because we're talking about an app. Excuse me. I'd have to go and change the Salesforce app. Not the classic app, not the Lightning. There it is. See, it worked. So I managed the Lightning app here to make it easier for myself to see. I'm going to pull all that crud and make it as simple as possible, right? So the next question would be, what's next? Well, when we get back on Thursday here, we will continue our deep dive into relationships. If you have forgotten, that's what we were working on here. But this is, as you're going to see, this is a lot more than just relationships. We're really talking about administration here and how I go about doing administration. So we created a couple objects. We created a couple of tabs. We put a one-to-many relationship on an object. The other limitations of schema, number one being tabs that we solved. Number two is page layout. It doesn't automatically put the field in the page layout as if you did it in the setup tree. So we will have to go into each page layout for each object and make sure any fields that we create end up in the page layout. But I would argue that you're going to have to do that anyway, because if it automatically adds them upon creation, you don't get to say where. So it puts them all in the same place. So you're still going to have to go into that layout and fix it. As far as Thursday, we'll come back and we will discuss how that looks. And we will continue our deep dive into relationships. So with that said, I'll let it go. Anybody have any questions or problems or nasty remarks?
No homework assignment.
Oh,
You gave us a lot last time.
I did. Did you do any of it?
I did some of it, yeah.
Well, good.
I didn't do it all. I mean,
what I would like for you to have together by Thursday is just what we've done here and why. That would be important for next time. Because if not, you need to let me know what you don't understand about what we've done. Because it's going to get thicker and deeper as we move forward. So if any of this doesn't make sense, please let me know and we'll just keep going through the math, right? quote unquote, until it rings the bell.
Ryan, I have a quick
Yeah.
question.
Sure.
So are we going to do formula and validation later on, or is this something we're going to skip?
No, we're not skipping anything.
Okay, so formula and validation rule will come later, and cross
Sure.
object. Yeah. Okay.
Well, and that's a good question. She wants to know where we're at. So we talked about lookup relationships. What are the key points?
The
Parent
one-to-many
child.
parent object, parent child.
Parent child, which means what?
One-to-many.
One to many.
Where's the field go?
Child.
Child.
Meaning each one has what?
Its own.
It's
owner.
individual
One has
owner.
its own.
Each one has what? Its own owner. So security is controlled by what?
Individual user.
Ownership of each
Ownership.
record. So what we're going to start with next week is we are going to prove that when you delete a parent record, the child gets orphaned. Right? So we've got this far. Right? So the next part of the drawing was what happens if I delete the parent?
The child becomes orphan.
That's where we'll start on Thursday. And then can I pull information from the parent to the child?
Yes.
With what?
Cross object formula.
Do you see how I'm proving the drawing here?
Mm-hmm.
Automation will come after you understand the architecture. Otherwise, you'll never understand any of it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, everybody. If anybody needs
Thank
any
you.
help or needs to talk after class, feel free. If not, I'll see you on Thursday.
Sounds good.
Ryan, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
My question is actually general about Salesforce.
Okay.
I've been working on Salesforce for almost a year now. Actually, I am from Pakistan, so the question will be related to Salesforce opportunities, right? So I almost worked a year here. Now my company is actually doesn't have any projects, so they are shifting me to another team. So I just want to know how much potential this field holds, right? Because in Pakistan we have currently few companies that are working on Salesforce. So if I'm actually confused the whether to start my career in it because I have already invested an year in it. So I want to hear your remarks.
Well, so I would say Pakistan, you're probably in a very unique niche there. And although there's probably not a lot of firms in Pakistan that are currently using the platform,
Yeah.
I would say that if you are experienced, then those that are would find you highly valuable, right? So like, how do you, the question would be, how do you figure out what sector of your country is actually using it in a way that would be employable?
Right.
So like, I mean, is there a certain vertical marketplace in Pakistan that's using this significantly? Like, I don't know, real estate or healthcare or
I don't
construction?
think so because most of the projects come from other countries. Like we are mostly doing the project for onshore clients. I've never see any client that we are working for in Pakistan.
Okay. So, I mean, would you be allowed to work with countries outside of Pakistan as far as like partnerships, etc.?
Yes. There's no restriction when it comes to that.
Well, I mean, I think that I would look into what a consulting resource in Pakistan offers as far as hourly rate.
All right.
And find out, you know, if there's anyone locally. Like, I mean, I'm just so far away from your particular marketplace that I don't even know how I could attack it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I'm in the
Uh,
States where it's pretty much sky's the limit and I can do business with anybody as long as they pay me, you know? Whereas I can't even imagine the difference in a lot of different countries.
right.
You know,
Right.
I just don't know the geopolitical situation that you're in. All I could say is you need to find where it is being used and accepted that it's and the use is accepted. So it's like, when is it being used? What vertical market is the one that's actually using this on a regular basis, if any? And if so, how do you network with the folks in that industry to get work?
Right. Right.
You know, I mean, I just don't know.
Right.
I have a question for you. What are the largest cities in Pakistan that are closest to you?
Lahore, Karachi, Islamabad.
Okay, the first thing that I would do is look to see if there's a user group anywhere near, or if not near, at least in the same time zone that you are. And just as I was talking earlier about there being a virtual user group, first I'd start there.
Yeah. Right.
And then just for
So,
the very reasons that we were talking about earlier, then you can get a better sense for what people's needs are as you start to talk
You know
to
what
them.
else? I just had a thought. Like, I don't know your background experience, but have you contacted Salesforce directly? I mean, I don't know if there are a lot of resources within Pakistan that would even understand the platform initially to get Salesforce in the first place. So maybe if you made some connections directly with Salesforce as a company, they might have some resources for you, because that might be an area of growth they'd be interested in getting into, you know? Just because it's not there doesn't mean it's never going to be, I guess is my point.
And to expand on that, perhaps in the community section of Salesforce.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Right. So, can you share me the links of these communities, because I have only this group.
I'm sorry,
I
the link of
myself,
what?
The link of
uh,
what? I'm sorry, we didn't understand you.
other user groups, like other communities that are working.
Okay, I'll try. I just went into Google and put in Salesforce community groups, and it came up. But I'll happy to put in what I found.
All right. I'll Google it then. I'll Google it.
Well, hold on one sec. I'll just make it easier for you.
You know, another thing you could do, frankly, if there's nothing and it's something that you see the value of the platform, I mean, why couldn't you teach somebody in your neighborhood?
All right.
You know, I'll say what's made me a good consultant more than anything else has been teaching.
Right.
Because they ask you questions.
Yeah.
You know, and eventually, like in this class, I've been asked most, I'm not saying all the questions, but I've been asked most of the questions, so I have an answer, so it makes me seem really, really sharp. But it's not that I'm smart, it's just I've been asked all those questions enough times and the repetition to where I know the answers now. And there's a little more urgency when you're at the blackboard too. Like, you know, it's like you don't want to teach somebody the wrong way.
Yeah. Right.
So even if you've got like no opportunities and there's it's like, oh, nobody's even using it, you could teach somebody else. Because I'm going to tell you, if they're not using this now, I mean, you probably see that already, right?
Right.
I mean, this is the future. This drag and drop user interface where we can really put in front of people what they need to see to solve their business problems and do it efficiently and do it effectively. I mean, that's just truth. It's not, you know, even if there isn't anybody in your neighborhood doing it yet, the truth will ring through. So maybe just teaching somebody, a brother, a sister, a cousin, give yourself an opportunity to grow as a resource, even if you don't have an opportunity in production, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, there's also the mentor and the mentee, I don't want to say relationship, but program through Salesforce. So depending on where you fall, if you're certified and accomplished and established, then you'd obviously be the mentor. But if you're, you know, relatively newer, then you'd want to be in the mentee portion. And then there can be somebody who can help guide you and
Yeah,
Well-
I have explored those resources in real life.
You know, the other thing about teaching is, you know what happens when you're a good teacher? They send you work
Exactly.
because they're like, man, I don't know how to do that, and they can't find the answer themselves. So then they're like, who's the only person I've ever met that actually knew what they were talking, you know, what they were talking about. So just make the tip of your spear sharper, regardless of whether or not there's gold in the coffers.
Right.
Something else, if you decide that you like teaching, you even just kind of do a little bit of like what Ryan's doing and start teaching and do some how-to videos on YouTube. And I think if you can have it in your own area, then that could also help attract people to your area, because then all of a sudden somebody finds you online. Wow, this person's, you know, pretty close to me. They're not across the world.
And you'll see all the annoying stuff that you do, and you'll stop doing all that. No, you won't. You won't do that. You'll just hear every annoying thing you've ever done. You'll be like, oh my God. But the more you hear yourself, the more you can stand it. You never like it. But eventually, I want my son to be able to come on here one day and listen to this nonsense and be like, wow, he was kind of smart. That's what I'm hoping to get out of this. Anyway, thank you everybody for being with us. And hopefully
Thank
you'll
you
be
for
back with us Thursday.
Yeah, right.
And, all right,
Thank
take
you
care.
for
Good
your
luck.
words. Oh, thank you.
I'll have the recordings up here momentarily. Thank you.